This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat and far. All right, let's talk about it, man. You see, this is what I was talking about when I said Shakur Stevenson is everything that Devin Haney is not. You see the agenda that's out there? You see the pandering narratives that are out there? They're basically trying to say, is Shakur Stevenson the next Gary Russell Jr.? Shakur Stevenson is active. Shakur Stevenson is basically fighting all of these guys and beating them up. Gary Russell Jr. was doing it, but Gary Russell Jr. basically screwed himself over in a lot of ways. One, he aligned with the wrong people, and they screwed him up bad. And two, the fact that Gary Russell Jr. is basically a guy who basically spit on Al Heyman. That's why he's in the precarious situation that he was in. And what he didn't realize is these black boxing community fan bases were using him and pimping him so that they can talk trash about Al Heyman. And he fell for it. He basically was succumbed to it. And that's why his career has basically been one fight a year. That's why Gary Russell Jr. hasn't been as active as he needs to be. Here's the thing. Shakur Stevenson is with Bob Arum. And Bob Arum, you could spit on him, you could say whatever you want. I prefer Shakur Stevenson to be with Mayweather Promotions. I prefer, and if he doesn't want to be with Mayweather Promotions, I prefer him to be basically up on the PBC with Al Heyman. That's what I prefer. Because I know his affairs would be governed on a way better level than what is being governed right now. But Bob Arum will make fights happen. Whether we want to believe it or not, he will get the fights done, because at the end of the day, Bob Arum is a project of the three-pronged monster of economics, politics, and pugilism. He understands this thing at the highest levels. Bob Arum's been around forever. Now he tries to cripple you. He tries to Jerry Heller to Eazy-E you in the process. But Shakur Stevenson let Bob Arum know from the jump, you're not going to deal with me the way that you dealt with Terrence Bud Crawford. You're not going to run your mouth the way you ran your mouth with Terrence Bud Crawford with me. You're going to give me what I want. He's demanding it. More like the way Sugar Ray Leonard did it. When Sugar Ray Leonard said, I'm going to retire. I prefer to retire, or I prefer to lead the sport if I don't get the fights that I want. But Shakur Stevenson is even more vocal than that, and he's less cooning and buffooning than that. So I got to give Shakur Stevenson credit for being the type of individual that he is. The type of individual that Shakur Stevenson is, he's not going to end up like Gary Russell Jr. Because Shakur Stevenson is starting to come into his own. He's starting to build a character about himself. He's starting to build an image about himself. He's starting to stand out. He has charisma. He has the it factor that Devin Haney lacks. Let me say it again. He has the it factor that Devin Haney lacks. He has the smile. He has the charm. He has the charisma. Basically, he got all of the intangibles that He Knows Everything has. You know what I'm saying? He got the good looks. He Knows Everything has that. You know, I mean, you stand out when you have all of these basically factors that's associated with the individual. And he can enunciate. He can talk. That's very big in boxing. You got to be able to talk and basically verbalize and say what's on your mind and let people understand that. So I give Shakur Stevenson all the credit in the world for being able to do all of these things. Because all of these things are going to be defining factors in people understanding who Shakur Stevenson is as an individual. Gary Russell Jr. don't have all of those flair things going on with him like Shakur Stevenson. Gary Russell Jr. runs his mouth, but he doesn't have that it factor that Shakur Stevenson has. He doesn't have that likability that a Shakur Stevenson has. He doesn't have basically a lot of the prerequisites. When you look at Shakur Stevenson, you see that Shakur Stevenson is built from A to Z. He doesn't have that. So we got to keep it real here, man. We got to call a spade a spade. We got to keep it a buck, and we got to keep it 1,000. When it's all said and done, Shakur Stevenson is where it's at. Shakur Stevenson is the it factor. Shakur Stevenson is that dude. And Shakur Stevenson ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Devin Haney, on the other hand, he doesn't have all of those prerequisites. Shakur Stevenson has forced Oscar Valdez into a situation where he's muffed. And the reason why I believe he's going to get the Oscar Valdez fight is because Bob Arum loves, when he's dealing with a black fighter, just like when he was dealing with Floyd, he gave Floyd whatever Floyd wanted. And you know why? Because he saw that the skill set was just so out of this world that I can bank off of this guy. So Shakur Stevenson's going to get what he wants. Because let's just be honest, Oscar Valdez has a ceiling cap. It's like a pandering narrative. Once it goes up, woo, the motherfucker must come tumbling down. He has a ceiling cap. Shakur Stevenson doesn't. And Bob Arum is a master of understanding climates that when a black fighter has the prerequisites and the skill sets that a Shakur Stevenson has, they're going to be primed to be off the fucking charts in the way that they move and they govern themselves. Bob Arum saw everything he needed to see in the making of a superstar, Shakur Stevenson, when he saw the way that Shakur Stevenson picked Jamel Herring, a champion, apart the way that he did. I mean, he picked him apart. Basically, he retired Jamel Herring that night. If I was Jamel Herring, I wouldn't continue fighting. That's just me. He got picked apart. Jamel Herring got punished in that 10th round. All of those 10 rounds, he was getting punished. And it was a TKO stoppage. Shakur Stevenson just proved that not only he's arrived, that he is reality. Not Devin Haney, who is fantasy. See, the reason why I get on Devin Haney is because Devin Haney doesn't understand the art of bending the proverbial fucking knee. You have to bend the fucking knee to Floyd Mayweather, dog. Motherfuckers don't like hearing this stuff because it's too vulgar for them. They don't like hearing it because of the fact that it's too blunt for them, but it's the truth. When you're dealing with somebody who is a master, who is a virtuoso in their respective field, who understands everything that's going on. Look at Devontae Tank Davis. He has grown into his own. Tank is so mature right now. Tank is talking. I love the press conference because motherfuckers always want to say Floyd is always taking over Tank's press conference and stuff like that. Floyd hears all of that. And Floyd wanted you motherfuckers to know that was never the case. But, you know, I have to say it. That's just like me on the basketball lot. Sometimes alpha males have to get off their fucking throne and they have to remind every motherfucker, this is why I'm in the position that I'm in, and this is why you're in the position that you are not. Let me say what I said, because what I said was so deep and profound. So hear me, and hear me, motherfucking well. This is why I'm in the position that I'm in, and this is why you're in the position that you're not. I'm a full-blown asshole. Floyd Mayweather's a full-blown asshole. You love to hate us, but at the same time, you have to appreciate the greatness personification that we are given to you. Because greatness personification can only be hindered. The motherfucker can't be stopped. We have the ultimate confidence, purpose, and abundance mindset in ourselves. So because of that, people can love to hate us, but they gotta respect us. They are intimidated. They understand what we bring to the fucking table. And Floyd had to remind everybody that shit. Just like I had to remind everybody the other day in the fucking live. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do quintessentially. And that's what happened with Shakur Stevenson. He had to remind the whole world why he is reality and why Devin Haney is fucking fantasy. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat truth-teller fashion. I keeps the foot on the what? Eeks. I keeps the foot on the what? Eeks. This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.